written. I will say that.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I had a fight with the person who
Okay,
wrote that.
so if we look at this dog from the neck, and we're going to start from the neck, there should be a smooth transition, right? There should not be a dip behind the withers, right? Right? And there's some controversy here. A lot of people say they have to be smooth over the back. This is the back. This is the loin. Okay? So this is what's called the nick. And the nick is where the one vertebrae that's lower than the vertebrae on the front half of the dog and the rear half of the dog. So the processes on the spine from this end point towards the head to the nick. And then from the spine, from the base of the head down to this point, the vertebrae stick out straight and then slowly lean and come back this way. This is how the dog's built, right? Lats, just like we have, lats, wings, major and minor. So major, come all the way down, minor is over the middle, right? And they all tie into right here. This is the key of the dog.
You can really see it in a racing greyhound.
You can see it. You can see it in any dog that's fit as hell, right?
Is that where the shoulder, the scapula is attached essentially?
No, scapulas on dogs literally float.
Ligaments.
They're not physically attached to any other joint.
Right.
They literally attach by muscle and tendon and ligament only.
Would that be where the muscle and ligament for the?
No.
Okay.
They don't. Okay. In fact, they tie into the lats, and the lats tie into the spine. Gotcha. Okay.
Is the nick the same as the anticline?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now they say rise over the loin, right? Okay, we're still in the back right here, right? This is the back. If you follow the rib cage all the way up to the spine, this is where the back ends. 2 vertebrae from the neck, right? And then this is the loin. The loin's over the top. This is the flank. Loin, flank, okay? The high point of the top line is right in the middle of the loin. Most of the dogs in Whippets and Borzois are here. So to understand a proper top line, the highest point of your top line has to be here. Now, there were a few dogs that were high in the rear, and their high point was way back here. Okay? So it is hard as a breeder, and I'm not saying that you guys are doing anything wrong. This is what all the sight hound people who have top lines like this have to consider when you're breeding, right? Is where your top line is at, and you have to be honest with yourself, because there ain't no hiding it. And then you'll get dogs. Then you'll get dogs that are downhill. That's another thing you have to be concerned with, right? You get them where they're high in the rear, or they're low in the rear. We want balanced, and that balance is from the prosternum. You draw a straight line all the way to the ischium. This is the point of the hip right here, right? So there should be a straight line that goes across. That's the center line of your dog. And like with Whippets, Borzois, and Silkins, a lot of times the tuck up is actually above that center line, right? So I can tell you from Whippets, and I don't know the Borzoi standard as well as I know the Whippet standard, but Whippets are supposed to be equal distance to the ground from the base of the elbows to the ground and from the base of the elbows to the withers, meaning their deepest point of their chest should be right there at their elbows. 50% above, 50% below. They're not supposed to be low on leg, they're not supposed to be high on leg. So lack of depth of chest is something to consider too, right, when you're breeding. So all these are a function of how the dog moves, right? And by that center line, you should judge everything from that center line. So when you have the dog stacked here, right, you should have the same angle here, right here, as you do in the shoulders, right? But that angle here is rotated a few degrees. I can't remember, I used to know. I think it's like 20 degrees, is rotated, right? But the knees should point straight forward, not out, not in, because that affects how they track, right? So I did see a few dogs that were crisscrossing. They're supposed to converge. not single track. Okay, or not over. I saw a few of those too. Right. So when you're looking at this, shoulders can be in basically 3 different positions, right? You can have a shoulder that's in line with the point of prosternum. You can have a shoulder that is out of line with the prosternum, where the point of shoulder is higher than the prosternum, or the point of shoulder is lower than the prosternum. Okay? If the point of shoulder is higher than the prosternum, the dogs, and they still have angulation, the dogs will be able to reach forward, but they will reach over the ground, not to the ground. And they're supposed to daisy clip, right? So you don't want a dog that reaches over the ground and then down, as opposed to reaching towards the ground. Their toes should literally drop right underneath their nose as they're moving. Right? This is a lot of information I'm giving you guys, so bear with me. Right? So if they're rotated the other way, where the point of shoulder is below, they bend from the elbow and lift at the pastern. So they lift because they can't really reach. So they get that hackney movement. So they have an inability to reach forward. Okay? So when you look at it from that standpoint, there's another position that can be wrong, and it can be wrong in all 3 directions. Your whole front assembly can be put on too far forward. Okay? And the issue with that is when they're put on too far forward, no matter what happens, they can't reach. It doesn't matter where they're put together. Right? Their reach is limited. And so if the point of prosternum is behind the point of elbow or point of shoulder, they won't reach as well as they would if their prosternum was out in front. So an ideal angle is about 45 degrees, right? It's hard to get that, trust me. And sighthounds, whippets, borzois, we all have the same problem, straight fronts, right? These guys are no different. This is our objective or our goal. So when we're...
I have a question.
Go.
This is again, greyhound. I'm like, why is it the 45-degree angles? Because I've seen straight greyhounds who are some of the fastest.
Yeah, okay, I can answer that.
Because
I
point is speed.
I can answer that, right?
Okay.
That is fast. When dogs are straight in front and straight in the rear, you've got one big giant lever and one big giant lever, and they're straight. The dogs don't have to bend.
Okay.
What it does is it eliminates motion of other joints, which makes the whole process faster.
Okay.
Those same dogs can't turn worth a dickens.
Yeah, that can make sense.
Right? Because now they can't slow down, collapse, angle for a turn, make a move. And if you're chasing a rabbit and you've got a straight lever in front, straight lever in back, the rabbit makes a turn, that dog turns wide.
Yeah.
Now the rabbit's got some distance.
Yeah.
And then that dog has to try to catch up, and then the rabbit goes, oh, I got him now. And the rabbit will literally turn right back into that greyhound because the greyhound can't collect. Because everything is so straight, it's like running on high heels, right?
Yeah.
You've got no more angle, no more stability, so you're just... right?
Yeah.
No,
So
absolutely.
if you're
A lot of
coursing,
fast greyhounds
if
can't
you're
turn.
coursing live rabbit or live game, angles are everything because you can collect,
Okay.
right? You may not be quite as fast, but you can cut the angles because you can turn with your prey,
That makes complete sense.
right? So the idea is rabbits, right?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, so when you look at, I know, you're just done. I know.
Do you want another dog?
Huh?
You want another dog?
Yeah, we can get another dog.
Got another one out there. Want to throw him up on the table? Bring him up. Come on, Jenny.
Oh, Sibby.
We got one. We got one already.
All right.
Yeah.
He's on the show lead and his mommy's feeling.
Will he just stand here?
Probably.
Okay. I know. You have no idea who I am. He's like, why is everybody staring at me?
I know Finn would stand.
Okay. So, this one here, you don't mind, do you?
I don't care what you do.
You don't mind, do you?
He's gonna.
Okay. So this one here, this is a perfect example of where I'm talking about the front assembly being put on too far forward, right? Because the point of the shoulder is actually in front of the prosternum. Okay. So plenty of depth, almost plenty of depth of chest, little shallow, and that will happen because now the deepest part of the chest, the shoulders are in front of the deepest part of the chest. So because of the shape of the chest, how it comes to a point at the prosternum, these are the dogs that actually crisscross when they're coming at you because they don't have anything to hold themselves apart, right? Because it's all in front of the assembly that holds them apart. So when they reach inward because there's nothing to stop that inward motion, right? When the shoulders are placed in the right position, that alleviates that problem by being so wide. When they reach forward, they can only converge. So it's really important for the side gate and the down and back to have the front assembly put on in the right place. I mean, there's so much here to learn, right? Also, that the angle of the shoulder affects the angle of the pastern. Most dogs, and there are always exceptions to the rule, they're dogs that outmove their structure just because they happen to be hyperlimber. And then you get dogs that can outmove their structure, right? You can also, if you have dogs that are straight in front, usually they're straight in pastern. Those are those fast dogs you're talking about, right? And so those dogs that are so straight in front that they don't have bend to pastern, you do not want to do agility with those dogs. You do not want to do fly ball with those dogs because that's what they depend on to do transition, right? So these are things all to keep in mind. Even when you're showing your dog, you want to hide those things from the judge, right? So you want to make sure you get your dog in a position where they're relaxed and you can take that rise and just lower it a little bit, right? You don't want them flat. But if you notice I'm rubbing this dog and he's coming down, and you'll see handlers do that, that's to relax that top line and make that high spot a little further back. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I looked at a lot of dogs right there, right? And that's a big deal, where that is. The further back it is in the right place, the more agile that dog's gonna be, and the more comfortable they're gonna be in the skin, and the more they will stand square and you not have to touch them. The game is balance and it also moderation, and that's the same for Borzois and Whippets. So keep it in mind. All right, good enough. All right.
Thank you. You want another victim? Do you want?
Let's do one more silken. Let's get one with a lot of prosternum.
Well, you've got Winter's dog here. I don't know what you thought of his. The Rock of Bones.
I don't remember. Saw a lot of dogs today.
Well, you put him up for Winter's from Briscoe. He was Winter's dog from Briscoe. So I don't.
Let me see him.
I don't know what you thought because we weren't talking about that.
Well, he was just really young. Right?
Yeah, he's really young. Not 2 yet. He won't be 2 until January.
Yeah, let's see if he'll. I don't even think he'll fit on this table.
He's also never been on a table.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the patio table on his own, as his own decision.
You don't groom on the table?
No. No. No.
You're back.
So he's got a little prosternum here. He's still shallow, but I think a lot of it is his age. But he's got a very open angle too. but he reaches a lot better than a lot of the other dogs I saw. This is another thing you guys got to remember. So now when I do this, I bring his hock up. His second thigh is the same length as his femur, right? It doesn't really stick out from the point of hip. That is critically important. That is what we typically call as over-angulated. And so the dogs that are over-angulated, when they move their leg forward, they move like a locomotive. Literally, like the drawbar on a locomotive. When they're balanced from here to there, they reach cleanly. Okay? So let's see. Let me find another dog that's over-angulated in rear. Let's see that one again.
No.
Okay. So, yeah. So you can see the angle here, and you bring it up. Nope, not him. I need another one.
BJ passed.
Yeah. Let's see another one.
No one's volunteering their dog, I see.
I don't think this one will be it either.
No, she's not gonna.
No, she's not it either.
Okay, come on, we're not it.
I need another one. Somebody bring me a Borzoi. I mean, bring me a Silken.
There's a silk. He's not but he's not gonna be over-angulated.
You want me to get her?
No, he's not
Yes,
over-angulated.
go get her.
Chris is
Yeah, too much rear.
Yeah, let me see one with too much rear.
Yeah, she's getting it. Who is it? I don't know. Well, yeah.
What?
I said he's got one thing going for him at least.
Oh, that's evil.
Oh, DJ, good boy.
Oh, she's getting that wild child.
Huh?
She's getting the wild child out.
BJ's so sweet, though. He's so sweet.
A little more like maybe.
Can you take her scarf off?
Oh, the very wide martingale.
Oh, it's not a scarf.
Extra wide collar.
I know. I don't have her show stuff on.
That's okay.
Just hold on to her.
It doesn't matter. You stand in front.
You're on a table all the time.
Oh my god. Camelback.
Over-angulated. So this is the point of point of the ischium, right? It sticks out over half an inch. We'll see this in whippets where they're 2 inches longer.
Oh.
Right.
Whippets have rears
And-
into the next zip code.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and we don't see that many of them, but we do see them. And that is just entirely too much. And this is too much. And you can see it stick past the hip. I can bring the fur down. You see that? And this, I got my thumb on the hip, right? So yeah, it's about 3/4 of an inch, right? And the more off that angle is, the more it affects their side gait. The more it affects their side gait, the more it affects how they go down and back, because now they've got interference. So they tend to hitch going around corners, right? Because think of a car axle. Think of a car axle. If you're turning a corner, let's say we're going to the left here, this wheel on the inside of the turn hardly moves. This one has a wider radius. So what happens is this foot has to compensate for this leg. So they hang on to it in the air for a second until that foot touches the ground, and then when it moves out of the way, they come around. So it makes them look like they're lame or limping. We call it a hitch, right?
I know she's camelbacking too, but she possibly from here looks like she could be a good example of what you were talking about with the top line.
Yeah,
She is
okay,
camel.
yeah. Okay. And so
Sorry,
when when that angle is really long, it affects their side gate. They can't turn in their side gate. So for somebody like you, I would square off the corners so the hitch is 1 step, not 3. Right? Because the judge will pick up on that and go, okay, next.
See, and I tend to cut corners because I'm slow, so I
Don't
probably
cut
should
corners.
be.
Don't cut
But if
corners.
he wants to
Okay?
go all the way into
And
the
so
Yeah, I've done the
that
opposite
also
'cause I'm so
affects how they
slow.
reach forward. This puppy, I'm sorry.
Her front's far forward. I know.
Her
I
front-
know.
Her front is far forward.
I
and-
already knew
and
this.
very straight, right? This angle is very open, right?
Yep.
And
Bag of
she's
sticks.
also,
Narrow.
well, she's narrow in front because her assembly is put on forward. Her prosternum is is just touching her point of shoulder, right? She's not concaved where the ischium is behind the point of shoulder. So this is one where her front's put on forward enough that she swims a little bit in front when she's reaching forward, right? So this is the conglomeration. And so here's the nick, here's the high point.
No, I didn't think so.
High point should be here.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are things that you have to look for when you're breeding and who you're breeding to. And it's really important to not only look at the dog you're looking to breed to, but looking at their grandparents and their great-grandparents and as many of the get in between to see where you have enough commonality from that particular stud dog that you can see is coming through the generations, because you're really breeding to the grandparents. You're not even breeding to the parents, you're breeding to the grandparents of the puppies that could be coming, right? So keep it in mind when you choose a dog to breed to. There you go. That's it in a nutshell.
Good job, Lana. You've got some excitement in your life.
He's not gonna sit on the table.
Come on.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna stop.
Okay, so you guys might be able to see the structure